And this is the part of the night that I really enjoy because I get to kind of get inside people's heads here who have been prominent in the baseball world, and we've got a great storyteller tonight in Jeff Manto. I've been at this sports writing business now for 51 years, and to be honest with you, and I've covered the top athletes in the world in all of the major sports and whatever, and a lot of times you're dealing with people who don't want to deal with you. And one of the things that struck me right away about Jeff Manto was that Jeff understood what it meant to be in order to give back. He was what I call a great ambassador. And I love people who are ambassadors for their sports, for their occupations, whatever. And it was apparent the minute he showed up in 1994 after being traded from the Mets organization to the Orioles organization and reassigned here to Rochester, that this was a special person, a different person. Now, it became clear, obviously, he was also a special ball player. He was carrying this team, the Red Wings, with his power hitting and so forth. But it went so far beyond that. Jeff hit it off and spent time with people in the front office. He knew everybody in the organization. It didn't matter what their status was or whatever. He hit it off with the press because he was what we call a stand-up person. Win, lose, draw, rain out, whatever. Jeff was there, and he was going to talk to you, and he was going to provide you insight. He wasn't going to fight your head off. And so he saw that as part of his role as well, as an ambassador. And it's intriguing to me because he only played 94 games here. That's his career total with the Rochester Red Wings. He didn't play a full season here. It was 4 months he was here in Rochester. And yet there was a connection that was made that was very, very powerful. And it was a connection between fans, the ball player, and the ball player in town. And it continues to this day. I think his fondness for Rochester, New York, for the Rochester Red Wings, for the sport of baseball and so forth. So without further ado, and I'll get into all his 9 halls of fame and all his achievements and so forth, but without further ado, please join me in welcoming Jeff Manto. There we go. Test. No? Not working?
You can hear okay.
They can?
Yeah.
You sure? Okay. Test. How's that? Okay. You want to switch these down?
Yeah.
Can everybody hear back there?
They're okay.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna have some battery change, but in the meantime.
All the more reason to move up front.
Yeah. See, that's why she's an executive. She goes, come on. All the more reason to move up front. Come on, get on the floor. We're not going to ask you to dance.
No upcharge.
You got box seats here. Come on. Come on. Not the Bob Uecker seats. Come on. So, Jeff, I want to talk a little bit, before we get to the Rochester and stuff, I want to go back to your roots, Bristol, PA. And you're drafted in the 35th round out of high school by the New York Yankees. And I believe you also have a scholarship offer to play baseball at Temple University at the time. Tell us why you made that decision to go to college as opposed to take 35th round.
I'll tell you, well, back in 1982, as you guys would probably agree with, at that time there was no decisions made by the child. Okay, so at that time I had scholarship offers in basketball, football, and baseball. I had half scholarships to go play in Delaware football. I had half scholarships in basketball to play in the Big Five. I had scholarships to play different sports, the 3 sports. So it was half and half. And then my father, being this big 6'3" strong Italian, They said, hey, by the way, how's this college thing going on? I said, well, the college thing's going pretty good. He goes, well, where are you getting your money? And I said, well, you playing football, you playing basketball, you playing baseball. I said, well, Temple offered me a full scholarship because I guess you're going to Temple to pitch. That's how the decision was made. It wasn't about academics, it wasn't about anything, but about the money.
Okay. And do you remember what the money offer was from the Yankees?
Full. It was back in the day, you had a full scholarship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, if I'm correct, doing a little research here, like, you were being scouted as a pitcher.
Yes.
I mean, you could throw really hard and stuff. Talk a little bit about that. You were being looked at as an everyday player, and this is reminiscent of Cal Ripken Jr.
I tell you, what it was is I was one of those big kids. I was the Clifford, the big red dog of high school in the local area, where I was able to overpower everybody. So what it was not so much that I was so good. I was just bigger and just a little bit better than the kids I was playing against, and it attracted a lot of scouts. And I can't tell you I was a pitcher. I was definitely a thrower. There's a lot of balls hit the backstop in the air, the old type thing. And then when the opportunity came and the New York Yankees drafted me, they called and they came to the house, and my father, they said, well, how much are you going to offer? We're going to give him $4,000. My father said, oh, no. He has a full scholarship at Temple. We'll take the scholarship at Temple.
Now, you realize if you had signed with the Yankees, this is 1982, you know who one of your teammates, you probably would have been assigned to the New York Penn League, short summer season, only on the Yankees. You know who one of your teammates would have been? John Elway.
Oh, geez.
And
Not the same player.
Yeah. The reason I know that is because I covered the New York Penn League when I was, in those years and stuff, and I remember him playing. But you would have been part of that. So you got scouted as a pitcher, and then you have some great seasons, all-around seasons, hitting the ball, power at Temple, and you're drafted by the California Angels, 14th round. What was that money like?
That money was $13,000. I'll never forget it. Al Goldis, who was the Philadelphia guy from Overbrook High, and Mark Bernstein came to the house. And I lived in a row home, a small town about, at the time, now it was like 9,000 people. Okay, at the time, it was about 6,000 people. I lived in a row home with 6 people. And he came to the house and he said, listen, here's $13,000. We're going to walk around the block. When we get back, we want a decision. So by the time he got to the bottom step, it was like, let these guys walk around the block. We know where we're going to sign. So that's how that went down. That was pretty exciting.
So where did you get assigned first? And tell us
I
about
went
that.
to, first of all, we had a mini camp in Anaheim, California. And the great part about it was we went to, I flew into John Wayne Airport. How about that, right? From Bristol, little town Bristol, you fly into John Wayne Airport. Like, I know you were definitely not in Bristol anymore. So I fly there, we go to Cal State Fullerton to work out. Then lo and behold, we get to go see an Angels game, and guess who's at our box? But Gene Autry, right? So he walks in, and I know my grandmother, she's from Minersville, she loves Gene Autry. So this guy's crazy. I said, hey, my grandmother follows you. And he was like, yeah, I know, all the women do, right? And then he goes, where are you from? I said, I'm from town, from Bristol in Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia. He goes, that anywhere in Lancaster? I'm like, yeah, I play there all the time. That's where your grandmother knows me from.
Okay, so take us through those early years, where you're bouncing around in the minors and when you get that first call up.
The first call up was, it wasn't what I expected. We were in Colorado Springs. I was considered a prospect at the time, and we had so many good players on the team. We really did, and I don't think anybody, if somebody got called up, it wasn't going to be me. It really wasn't going to be, because we had so many other good players on the team. And then I remember Bobby Molinaro walking into the clubhouse saying, hey, I don't know why, but you're going to the big leagues. So I was hoping for something a little bit more exciting than that. So he called to the office, and I thought like when you get called up to the big league, it's supposed to be like a big trick, some surprise, and sometimes jump out of a cake and since you're going to the big leagues. Nothing like, I don't know why, but you're going to the big leagues. So, geez, just took the sting out of this one. But that was what Keith Hernandez had hurt his calf, and I went up to Cleveland. And it was funny, I went up to Cleveland. If you guys remember, old Cleveland Stadium held about 110,000 people, and like 4,000 people went to the game. So
Mistake by the lakes, right?
yeah. So I pulled in the parking lot, and it was like, just drive around. Just drive around. Just drive. So I went I thought it was a complete circle. I wasn't even halfway around. And I got to the stadium in the first game, and I was like, this place is humongous. Like, got for batting practice. It was great. And then get out for the first pitch. Like, where's everybody at? like 6,000 people showed up. That was my story.
So take us through those early years and stuff. Like, how long were you up for that first stint?
For that first stint, the funny story about it, right? I get called up for the first time, and as you can imagine, here I am, this Trinitarian Catholic from Bristol. I had the Trinitarian nuns, and they smack you. They don't smack you; they schmack you. So it's a really good story. So I go up to the big leagues for the first time in Cleveland, and if you know anything about the nuns, you don't know where they go in the summertime. I have no idea where they go. Two things happen. One thing, I walk to the ballpark, and just remember, I don't know where the nuns go. This is like 8 years removed from elementary school. I don't know where the nuns go. And so I go to the big leagues. I'm walking to the ballpark. I'm walking through a Galleria. If you guys been to Cleveland, you walk through the Galleria, and there's this the men's shop. I walk in the men's shop, and then I see this tie, really cool tie, like $45. Like, who in the hell is going to pay $45 for a tie in 1990, right? Like, no chance. So I go to the stadium, I get my meal money. Next day, time. So in the meantime, getting back to the nuns, as you can imagine, when you get to the big leagues, you think this is wine, women, and song, right? So we go on a road trip. I get back from the road trip, and I get a cut. Hey, Mick, there's 3 ladies waiting for you. This happens quick. So I speed up a little bit, put a little foo-foo juice on. I go out, it's the 3 nuns. I said, what are you guys doing here? And they said, this is where we hang out in the summer. We're in Steubenville. So we came down to see you play. I'm like, oh, God. How was that?
So you bounce around, and you get into the Phillies organization, your hometown team here, and we were talking a little bit about that. So take me in that 93 season is a magical season for the Phillies. They make it to the World Series, and they lose in Game 6 on Joe Carter's home run. Take us through that season for you in 93.
93 was magical. I remember in the wintertime, I got a call from a couple local reporters saying, how come you don't sign with the Phillies? And I said, well, the Phillies don't call me back. And to make a long story short, we negotiated the contract. I get a chance to go to big league camp. I guess, recognized enough to go to AAA. And the first time I get called up, it was for Dave Hollins, Orchard Park guy. He gets hurt, so I get called up to take his spot on the roster, not particularly to play third base, because Dave obviously was a tremendous third baseman. And so we start to win. We start winning and winning and winning. And you would think that I had left tickets every night, but the good part about playing at home is that all your friends have season tickets. So I didn't need any tickets. It's a great thing. But as it goes on, I'm up and down the big leagues and get to the World Series. And to be an alternate for the World Series team, it was a phenomenal experience, and something that one of the best decisions I made, because now I'm considered a Phillies alumni, and getting called back to the Phillies alumni events is something special.
Now that team featured a lot of characters. John Kruk, Lenny Dykstra, Wild Thing. Talk a little bit about that. There was a bunch of characters on that ball club.
What I think had happened was that team was, they had so many, it was like the Misfits, that Santa Claus come to town or something like that. There's the town of Misfit Toys or something like that. That's what it was. These guys, we all got along. We all had problems. We all had a war. We all had something wrong with us, and it seemed to fit. It really did seem to fit, and everything. We policed each other, and what it was is that we were a bunch of baseball players, If you got called up, you played one way. You talk about, like a lot, there's the Orioles way, there's the Phillies way, there's the Yankees way. When they played the Phillies way, if you didn't play, you were out. And it was simple. It was simple. And I think that they policed that clubhouse pretty good.
So you didn't get a chance to get into the World Series there in '93. Give us, you had a front row seat to history. Talk about what you saw unfolding and how close maybe you came to possibly getting your shot.
I tell you what, it was a tremendous ride. It really was. The one thing I do remember, the ownership, they had parties and they remembered people's names. The Giles family. It was just a tremendous ownership, and they were really cognizant on people, similar to Rochester. And it was a great run. And what had happened was that it was just so darn magical. It was just like it was just something that's undescribable. And
where were you when Joe Carter hit the World Series winning home run in Game 6, bottom of the ninth against Wildcat?
Well, we were sitting there. I had just left the American League to get to the Phillies, and the one thing we knew about Joe Carter was do not throw him a breaking ball with 2 strikes. And I'm sitting in the clubhouse, and because I was not in uniform, I'm sitting in the clubhouse, and before this happened, there's 2 strikes on him. And I know when I was with Cleveland, the scouting report was do not throw Joe Carter a breaking ball with 2 strikes. And sure enough, the one game I caught, I started the videos, was in Toronto. And we had, and I think it was, I forget who the pitcher was, Charles Nagy. We had Joe Carter, we went in a 1-2, 2-2 count, and we said we're not throwing a breaking ball. And we ended up striking him out, or he grounded out on a sinker from Nagy, and that was great. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, they're not going to throw a breaking ball here. And I saw this thing curve as everybody else it came like this. I'm going, and I no. And then Carter hits it, and I put my head down, like, wow, that was not the pitch to throw. And everybody in the newspaper, everybody said, no, that was a fastball. I'm like, nah, that didn't look like a fastball to me.
Yeah, and I'll corroborate. Like I talked to Joe Carter a number of times about this, including after that game, and it was a breaking ball.
Yeah.
It was a breaking ball. And he's a great low ball hitter, and he had that thing time, and he talked about, he was afraid he was going to hook foul, and was so on it, and he didn't know if it was going to have the lift to get out, and it did.
I'll tell you what, the one thing I will have to say though, Mitch Williams never, ever said no to the ball. And that was to a fault at that particular time. Mitch Williams was one of the gutsiest, one of the most, like attitude-wise, one of the most prolific closers I've ever been around. When he wanted to pitch, it was in a dire situation. He wanted to be the guy, and he might not have had the stuff that he had 2 weeks before. We had 2 or 3 guys in the bullpen that were probably better that night, but Mitch said, "I'll do it." And to Mitch's credit, phenomenal job. He got beat. And Mitch will be the first one to tell you, hey, I went with my best, I got beat, and as a teammate, I can appreciate that.
So we get to the magical 1994 season here for Rochester and you. But it starts out, you're in the Mets organization, and you go to spring training, and you have a great spring training, and there's an opening, and all the talk, even the New York writers or whatever, are saying, you've made the team. And you're pretty much thinking that too, like I've made the team. And then the last minute, when they make those final cuts, you're not on the 25. Take us through that and how disappointing that was.
It was extremely disappointing. As a player, when you get an opportunity to play, and I'd say Dallas Green was one of the few managers in spring training who really backed up what he said when he called me in his office in the beginning of spring training. Because you have an opportunity to make this team, and he showed me that. He played me. I had 60. If I'm not mistaken, I had 65. Plate appearances at least, and maybe not at bats, but I had 65 plate appearances, and I was extremely appreciative of that, and did have a pretty good spring training. But yet, as baseball, things happen in baseball, it wasn't to me. And I remember him calling me in the office, and he goes, "Hey, this is one of the worst decisions I had to make, but you have to go." And I said, "Dallas, I don't like this decision. Like the other ones you accept. You're like, okay, I get it. This guy's that, and I'm not a Ross." I said, "Dallas, this one doesn't make sense." He goes, "Listen, let me tell you something. It doesn't make sense to me either, but that's just the way it goes."
So you go to Norfolk, And so what's your mindset? I mean, you're 29 years old, you still got your career ahead of you, there's still some chances to keep going. So, but when you go there, like, what are you thinking? You're obviously devastated with this unexpected move by you.
Right, I really was. As a matter of fact, I think I was, if anybody knows or anybody heard about Bobby Valentine, Bobby Valentine is a guy, whether you don't like him or you love him, there's no fine line. You don't like him or you love him. And Bobby Valentine, I really like this guy because he was straightforward. He told me the truth. I remember him calling me in the office and going, listen, all I want you to do, I want you to play hard, keep your mouth shut, and I will get you out of here. And that's what I did. Yeah, I kept my mouth shut, I played hard, and then he called me in that day, because it was the first time in my career that I was not a prospect. It was the first time where I had to sit. I was actually a bench player until there was a particular player that was it had rehab to do, and I wasn't the guy to play third base. And Bobby called me in and he goes, hey, listen, I have an opportunity for you. I got you traded to Baltimore. And then he said, you're going to go, I said, am I going to Baltimore? And he goes, no, you're going to Rochester. I said, oh, okay, well, why can't I go to Baltimore?
So you come here, take me that first day, like, what are you expecting? Okay, here I am, I'm packing my bags again, here we go, the journeyman, this is the baseball life, the tough part, the glamorous part, going to another place I don't know. Take me through like that when you show up here in Rochester and join the Wings.
When I first get here, as I'm driving, I think to myself, you know what? I cannot believe I'm going to the Rock. Okay, that's what the players call Rochester. They call it the Rock. Yeah, as a player, you are always evaluating each city so you know where you're going to go as a free agent. Okay, and as myself in the International League for 2 years, I think it was 2 years before I got here, I went from the hotel to the ballpark, Silver Stadium, hotel to the ballpark. And on the way to the ballpark on the bus was what you saw, okay? And so I think that part of, we talked about it with Naomi earlier today, there was a national situation going on, and it was like, I'm going to the Rock? This is not going to be cool at all, okay? And once I got here, and I'm going to forget names, and I apologize. I really do apologize. And from my heart, I apologize if I don't remember. John Philippone, okay? I remember this guy in Altabelli. Listen, man, you're fine. You're fine. And Mace in the front office, you're fine. Just hang out. John Philippone, and we just had our daughter 30 years ago, okay? Just had our daughter. Philippone said, listen, my daughter's taking care of your apartment. This is hooked up, this is hooked up, this is hooked up. I'm like, wait, that doesn't happen anywhere. And Philippone said, it's hooked up, you go play. Then you get to go to the front office, and you get to hang out with Joe Altabelli? Really? And I'm like, wait a minute, this is not bad at all. So you sit there and you're telling more stories of Joe Altabelli. I remember having arguments, and then Mace comes along, and you're thinking, this clubhouse this place is pretty cool. I didn't realize it. Then you get to go see the outskirts and how beautiful it is. And I just wish that when you came to the Rock, you took the long way. There's a lot more free agents. And what a beautiful, and I mean this sincerely, I'm not moving up here, so I'm not trying to, but it's like, it was such a beautiful area, and you got treated, and the way they treated my wife Denise, and my daughter, Gabrielle was 9 weeks old, and it was like, this place is and does rock. It was really cool, and now I'm so glad that I had a chance to spend just a short time, but yet it was most memorable for sure.
So you have a tremendous season, 297 batting average, 31 homers, 100 RBI, IL MVP. It comes together for you. But again, as I mentioned in the intro, you really became part of the community. As somebody told me, like, you became a Rochesterian, and you interacted with fans, clubbies, ushers, you name it. What was that? I mean, is that the way you've always been, or?
It was how I was received. It was a two-way street. The people received me first. You know, and you talk about the people when I first walked here, the names I just mentioned, like, why would I not return that? How much, what does it take? And then how the people treated my wife and my daughter at the time, like, to spend 10 minutes with somebody, that's too much? And it was just, it was way too easy. Rochester made it way too easy to be what I was here. It was too easy. And I mean, the people were great, the front office was great, the fans were great, the teammates were great, the organization was great. I wish I had something to complain about, because baseball players love to complain, but there was nothing, there was zero to complain about.
Now, you would do it, and again, this is not normal. You would sign autographs after games. This really doesn't happen. I mean, for a long periods of time. And there was a time when, after a particular game, you went and you spent almost a half hour with a blind fan, just talking to him. Tell us about that, what you remember from that.
It was just like, why not? Like, who am I to, like, not spend time with that person? Like, I don't know, like, where do I have to go? I can't be better than that. If I'm better than that, I got a problem. You know, this is a person too, you know, and it was like, that was easy. That was too easy. I think, you know, it was, you know, I just tried to respect everybody, because again, treated my family great, and it was just, it wasn't a return, it was just, Rochester made me be who I was.
We talked, Richard mentioned earlier about stadium stock. And so that winter, after the season and so forth, February, almost 29 years ago, and you and your dad get in your car, go through blizzards and stuff, through the Poconos and whatever.
All uphill.
All uphill. Not barefoot though, right? And you didn't walk. But, you know, you did that to come here again. What prompted you to do that? Because you were only here 4 months. You only were here for 94 games. You know, in the middle of winter, this is not a garden place, you know, like, I mean, so you were here. It must have meant something. I mean, that impact that this community made on you to come and do something like that.
It really did, and what it was that, again, you don't understand what you people are. You people are genuine, you're welcoming, the whole community. Again, I'm not trying to be mushy, I'm not trying to be a nice guy, I'm not trying to make sure my tires aren't flat when I leave. The people, and I mean this sincerely, it was easy. It was easy to do. Like, I remember getting a call from Mason, Alto, like, this is easy to do. There's no hardship at all. Let me change my schedule if I can. I will do that, because, again, you don't understand. You really don't. And I don't know if you've ever been told this. You guys are really, really nice. Okay, you're really welcoming. So that's your fault.
So, 1995, spring training with the O's. You have a fabulous spring training. There's an opening, and this time you stick. And you have the best of your several seasons in the big leagues. You had by far your best season. 17 homers, 38 RBIs in 89 games. Major League Baseball record, 4 homers and 4 consecutive at-bats, and 5 in 3 games, which tied a record as well. What do you know, you got to be feeling good, like, you know, all this effort, work, all these cities, all those bus rides, all those hotel rooms and stuff. You're in the bigs, and it looks like you're going to stick now. Tell us about that season.
It was definitely magical. I remember Phil Regan coming up to me about 2-3 weeks in the spring training, and it was a spring training, a shortened season because of the lockout or the strike, whatever it was. And Phil Regan had come up to me. He goes, "Listen, if Charlie Manuel thinks you can play for him, you can play for me." And I said, "Well, what's that mean?" And I don't understand that, because the year before they were all together in Cleveland, and they were having meetings about playoff rosters, and Charlie had mentioned, this is all, I find this out from Phil, that you're going to make this team. And Phil took the pressure off. It was a great opportunity, and I know what was happening. But I was a utility guy. I wasn't the guy playing third base. Leo Gomez fell out of favor with the Angelos family because he took him to arbitration after Angelos stuck up for the union. Okay, and Angelos being the union guy, and whatever happened with Leo. and I get an opportunity to play. Phil Regan calls me into his office. He goes, "I got good news and bad news." And he goes, "Listen, the good news is you're going to play third base every day." I said, "What could be the bad news?" He goes, "Oh, tonight you got David Cohn." And I know that's not good. So and things worked out pretty good.
So you also, that year is the year that Cal Ripken breaks Lou Gehrig's record of 2,130 consecutive games. You got a front row seat to history. Talk about that. That night was just special, and it was so needed by baseball after the strike and everything.
I agree. One thing about, if anybody, I'm sure a lot of people you know have met Cal, this guy is a class act. This guy is an unbelievable person. He's a teammate first and foremost. He's an intelligent, great baseball man, and he treated us like gold. He treated teammates like gold, and he treated me like as if like he needed me. You know, like, this is Cal Ripken giving me compliments. Like, this shouldn't happen. And the magical moment, that moment, seeing like the president's people come in and everybody coming in, all the security, the dogs, and the sharpshooters, and it was the first time that baseball, like, I didn't think anybody could stop baseball, but that night Cal stopped baseball, and it was extremely special to be a part of. You know what? It couldn't happen to a nicer guy. You know, there's a lot of guys in baseball where the media portrays as he's a bad guy. This guy is an absolute ace, and I think there were so many people happy for him because he treated so many people good.
He was reluctant to take that victory lap. Were you among the guys pushing him out there like, go? You know,
Yes, I was. Matter of fact, I was the guy that had mentioned to Palmaro about how Palmaro kept on saying, pushing. So I let him have it.
So did you know, Cal obviously has the same feelings that you have about the Rock. He loved his time here. This is like his second baseball home. You know, it was the last place that he was before he went to, you know, to the big leagues in the Cooperstown. You know, did you share some Rock stories?
Of course, yeah, we did. We already talked about the Rock. We really did. There was, I mean, and it was a familiar story, and it's the quality. And I remember it was the quality of people that you are, and it was enjoyable. And again, it was like you don't understand. You as fans and ownership and front office people make it so easy to play here and to live here. And but he talked about the Rock, and I think his father managed here.
Yes.
Okay, it was a second home to him, and we talked about it quite a bit.
Cal actually lived here for a summer or two while his father was managing here and stuff like that. So it seems like, wow, those are good stats. This is a solid guy we could really use. And you wind up next year in Japan playing for the Yomiuri Giants. What happened?
This is a good story. Pat Gillett comes over as the general manager, and then he brings over Davey Johnson. So Pat Gillett calls me and goes, "Hey Jeff, you ever thought about going to Japan?" I said, "Yeah, I thought about going to Japan." He goes, "Well, I would think if you have the opportunity to go to Japan." I was kind of curious about that. I'm not telling you. I'll tell you. An hour later, Davey Johnson called me. He goes, "Hey Jeff, Davey Johnson. Hey, listen. All I want you to do is get in shape. I talked to a lot of players. You're going to be on the team this year." I'm like, "Oh, that's good. That's funny because Pat Gillett just told me to go to Japan." No, I make the team. I'm like, "That's okay, all right." So I called Pat Gillett. I said, "Hey, Pat, I just got the phone with Davey Johnson." He said, "I want to be on the team." He goes, "Let me tell you something. I make the team." So in the meantime, I'm like, well, where's this Yomiuri contract going? So I call these guys back. Nobody can give me an answer. So Yomiuri comes in and says, "Hey, listen, we're going to give you this kind of cash. We're going to buy out your contract." And I said, "Okay, I don't. Davey's not certain. Pat's not certain. I'm out."
And am I correct? I was doing some research. $800,000.
$800,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you go there, and they just have a dreadful start. I think they're like 3-23. And did they release you, or did you ask to be released at that point?
The Yomiuri.
Yomiuri.
No, they released me. They're very very intelligent people. They're very good baseball people, but very impatient. Like 3 for 23 here is you're on your way. You know, 3 for 23 over there that's how good you are. And so they're very impatient people. I'm kind of like, I wish I could have parlayed it into something better, because it's not as bad as, but as one may think, but they just didn't have patience. We're talking about Tokyo, we're not talking about Hiroshima where they don't care, but Tokyo was like, you gotta play now.
Right, and it's kind of a religion over there, right? I mean, they love their baseball. What, did you get a chance to sample the society at all, or were you just so focused on baseball that you?
I sampled the society, I really did. I was out there, Denise and I actually, our claim to fame, we think, is that our daughter Gabrielle is the only person to be in Japanese Sesame Place and the United States Sesame Place. They all somehow or other just been trained. We got the Sesame Place in Japan, and then we have one in Langhorne where we live. Where's Mace? In Langhorne, okay? And so that's our claim to fame.
So you come back, what happens that season when you come back from Japan?
I get my wits about me. It's obviously the time change, and I end up going to Pawtucket. I play there in Pawtucket, and I call Kevin Kennedy, who's the manager, and he goes, yeah, go down there, and I know where you are, because I play for him in winter ball, and he goes, I know where you are, just stay healthy, get your bats in, and if I need you, I'll call you. So it was a quick transition.
So in that off-season '97, do you go to Toronto? Is that Toronto signs you, the organization? Or?
I believe so, yes.
And then you go to Syracuse first, right?
I go to Syracuse. Matter of
Right.
fact, Adriana is born, okay? Complications, and so I reluctantly go to spring training with Toronto. They were phenomenal. They really said, hey, listen, take care of your family first, which was great. I can't get right in Syracuse. I just can't get right. And it just is not, I'm not comfortable. I gotta pay for baseballs. I gotta pay it early. It just didn't fit. You know, great people, great town, great mall. But I just didn't fit in Syracuse.
I mean, I'm not gonna mention any names, but they were pretty cheap, like foul balls, the ball boys and girls were instructed not to give them to fans, but to put them back into a thing instead of like, you know, trying to create a lifetime fan, you're gonna be that cheap, right? That's true, right? No comment, no comment.
I
Okay.
gotta pass through there. Tell me when I get to Cortland. Is that Cortland or is that?
Well, no, Cortland's after.
Give me Binghamton. Call me Binghamton.
Binghamton, okay, I'll call you. So, did you get traded and you show up in Buffalo then?
Well, here's what happened. I had called my agent and said, listen, hey, I'm done. I can't take this anymore. I'm tired of the travel. Can you get me out of here? And then I called Mark Shapiro, who I knew was the minor league director in Cleveland, and he wasn't in. So a message got to Shapiro's office that I had called, and I was done playing, and I wanted to move on. And then apparently Mark saw the message and said, oh, no. We need a player. We have a trade that we can make. And so all of a sudden I get a phone call saying, hey, you got traded. You're going to Buffalo. Ryan Thompson's coming back to Toronto. You're going to Cleveland. Or you're going to Buffalo.
Did you consider quitting? Were you that down from the experience in Syracuse and stuff that, you know, did you think like, well, it's time to move on with my life here? Or?
Yeah, honestly, truly, it was, I called Denise a couple times and said, this is it. I don't think I have anything left. And Denise was like, it doesn't sound like you're done. You don't sound like it was. I guess I wasn't convincing enough. And I don't think you're done. I really don't think you're done. And she just said, keep playing. But she said, I don't think you're done. So just keep pushing it.
You know, when you came back from Japan, was there any chance to be back here in Rochester, to get back into the Orioles organization? You know, I thought like your agent like made some inquiries and stuff?
Yes, there was. Matter of fact, when I came back, I made a few calls, and Rochester was a place I was familiar with. It was a place that had success. It was a place that welcomed me and my family. I was extremely comfortable. The front office again were aces. The ownership were aces. There's nothing to like. This is the place I'm comfortable with, and I forget who it was. Anyway, no names anyway. But anyway, no room at the end.
Is that Sid Brett that you signed? I think was.
Okay.
Well, no farther south, I think, on that one. So you go to Buffalo and you become a legend there. A much longer period of time. You have some great seasons with them. did it, strike you that, hey, this is kind of like Rochester in terms of the people? They obviously had a big stadium that was, built with the idea that they were going to go major league, and it didn't happen. So tell us about Buffalo, and it revived your career right away.
It really did. Well, once I walked into Buffalo, for the longest time, I was probably the most selfish player in baseball. I didn't play for the name on the front. I played for the name on the back because I knew that I needed to get a job the next year. Unfortunately, that's the way it is in the minor leagues. Now, I want to be a Johnny rah-rah and say, go, go, go. But the reality was, if I didn't hit, if I didn't produce, I was gone. And unfortunately, that's the way the business was. And I did that for a long time. I really did. And was I proud of it? Yeah. That's what I had to do. That's what the game told me to do. And when I got to Buffalo, I got called in the office real quick by Brian Graham and said, listen, man, you don't understand. This is different. We play to win. Like, man, what do you mean win? I gotta get my numbers so I get a job next year. He goes, let me tell you something right now. If you don't pack that attitude outside the clubhouse, you're not gonna be on anything. And I'll think, wow, this is pretty serious. And it got to be, and it wasn't anything else but that's the way it was. And I was not used to that. And once I got there, I was like, wow, this place is different. But the people there were extremely welcoming. Boots and Dandies and Petronelli, the Rich family, similar to the Silver family, Mace and Altobelli's. It was, I don't know what you people drink up here, but you guys were like awesome. And that's just like, it was a similar feel. It really was. And it was extremely welcoming. They took care of families similar to Rock.
So you go from, I might be quitting baseball early that season to being, an alternate, right, on the roster, or actually on the roster for the Cleveland Indians in the World Series against the Florida Marlins. Same season.
Same season. Matter of fact, it was, you talk about a pretty unbelievable story, Rags to Riches, and I have to give credit to Brian Graham, who was the manager at the time, where he had enough confidence in me to tell the front office that, hey, this is the guy that you want to have on your bench because I was able to play different positions. And Hargrove really wasn't we had 9 guys. We had 9 guys that could bang. We had 9 quality major league players. And I was a guy who was not going to say anything because I was not close to a Manny Ramirez or Jim Tony or those guys. It was like, I accepted my role, and I think that was one of the reasons that I was attractive to be on that team. But I wasn't saying anything.
So you're on the roster, you're in uniform, and there is a game, right, where you think, like, he's going to call me up to pinch hit. Tell us about that.
Well, it was game 6 where Rob Nen came in, and it was going down the stretch, and he had used everybody. And I guess one of the good things, the bad things about my position was I was able to play 8 positions on the field. And that was one of the reasons why I was there, because of the versatility. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, Rob Nen's coming in to close or set up, whatever he was doing. He can run a sinker. My bat matched his pitches. Not that I was better than him, but my swing path matched his pitch path, if you will. I'm thinking, I'm going to win this game. I can't believe it. I'm going to win this game. And so I'm puffing, I'm getting nervous, and I'm trying to catch my breath. And I'm going, as a player, you're watching this game unfold. I'm thinking, oh no, I'm over here getting ready for the post-game interview. Right? And sure enough, he had Brian Giles go up to the plate, and Brian Giles. Again, it's not about Brian Giles versus Jeff Manto. It's about the pitch. I'm thinking, and Brian, when he does whatever he does, I'm thinking, I think I would have won this.
What ifs, right? What ifs. I mentioned about Buffalo and like here in Rochester, you're in the Bison's Hall of Fame. I think you said a modern franchise record, 79 home runs. You're one of only 3 Bisons to ever have your number retired. But take us back to early on there. You get to meet the owner, but you don't know it's the owner.
Let me tell you something. when I got to Buffalo, you know, in that situation, I was kind of sort of miserable. Okay, and here I am again, here I am year 15 or year 16, whatever it was, and I'm miserable. So, when you're in Buffalo's clubhouse at the time, you know, walk down a hallway and you see the manager's office, and you make a left to go to the dugout. So as I'm walking, this is after like 3 weeks there, I'm walking in, and Brian Graham says, "Hey, Mick, come here." I said, "Let me introduce you to somebody." Here we go. So I walk in the office, and there's this guy sitting there with a sweater around his neck, okay, there's collared shirts and khakis and the nice shoes. Right? He goes, "Hey," and Brian goes, "Hey," and he introduced me, he goes, and Bob goes, I don't know, this is Bob. He goes, "Hey, I didn't realize you had that much power." I said, "Really?" Yeah, I mean, when you got here, I didn't realize you had that much power, but you're really doing good. I said, "Really?" And I said, "You know what? That's the problem with you guys. You sit up in the stands with your hands on your booties, and you don't evaluate us older guys, and that's the problem with the game because of guys like you." And Brian Graham goes, "Mick, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. This guy over here is killing my career because he doesn't know what I'm doing. He's afraid I have power. This is the first time you know I have power." And he goes, "Jeff, stop. This is Bob Rich." "I don't care, Bob Rich. Who's Bob Rich?" "He's the owner." And so I walk into a town between my legs, I go to the game, and sure enough, after the game, I got a tap on my shoulder, and it's Ron Krause, the clubhouse guy. He goes, "Mr. Rich wants to see you." So I'm thinking, this is not going to be good. So I collect myself and go, okay, I don't know what to expect. I don't. And he goes, "Let me tell you something right now. That was the best compliment I've ever gotten in my whole career. Because I want people to think I'm a baseball guy, and you just validated everything I wanted to be."
That's great. Did he bring that up like when they had your, jersey
No, he
retirement?
reminded me. He reminded me. Yes, he did. He reminded me.
That's great. So 1999, the Yankees are in the middle of their dynasty. There are 3 consecutive World Series titles. And you're on that team for 6 games. How did that come about, and why only 6 games?
Well, what happened was that I had got let go. I had got put on waivers by the Indians. And what I think had happened was that we were in competition with the Yankees going down the stretch for some reason. And at the time I was on waivers, Travis Fryman gets hurt, and the Yankees speculate that the Indians are going to pull me back, and I was going to be playing third base. So the Yankees picked me up. And I'm thinking, this is awesome. If you're an Italian guy from the Northeast, the Yankees is the place to be. So I get to the Yankees. You talk about like this is absolutely the most incredible thing in my life, where I'm walking in the Yankee Stadium. I'm a Yankee. Okay, and if you again, like my father, big Italian guy, like Mickey Manto, Joe DiMaggio, like that, I'm like with those guys, like he didn't believe me, but yeah. And so I become a Yankee. I mean, this is crazy. I'm walking in this clubhouse with these guys who are part of the dynasty of the Yankees. And one of the most special things was when you walk down, you see the tunnel, you see photos, and you walk down there and it says, "I want to thank God that you made me a Yankee." I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. And sure enough, I had the short stint there, and it was incredible. It really was incredible. But the day, now mind you, let me take you back a year before. I'm a Boston Red Sox the year before, so I'm playing in Boston. So the next year, I spent a couple of days or a couple of weeks with Boston. We go back to New York as a Yankee. I say, "I'm number 13. The guy at the clubhouse guy goes, "Want number 13 or 57? Like, good luck, bad luck, 13. I'm not going to play here. I'll take 13. I'm not going to walk around with 57. So I thought I'll take 13. So we go to New York, and it's the day, it was a Saturday, Clemens is pitching against the Red Sox the next day. I'm going to be there for one of the most monumental games in history. I'm like, this is it. It's on, right? So I'm taking batting practice, and the reporters are behind me, and they say, "Hey, good old number 13's back." I'm like, these Red Sox these reporters remember me. This is pretty cool. Right? So they said it once, they said it twice. Oh, number 13's back. I'm like, all right, good. Walking down the tunnel, I see Jimmy Lavert's back in the tunnel. Jimmy Lavert's number 13. Okay, they called Jimmy Lavert's back. Okay, to take my spot. But go, number 13's back. It was Jimmy Lavert's, and it's where he wants to see it. I'm like,
What did Joe say? Do you remember?
Call Cashman. Yeah, we gotta make a move. We gotta make a move, and Jimmy Lavert's is back. You gotta go, basically.
So any Jeter stories, any stories about any of those guys, you know, Paulie O'Neill, I mean?
I'll tell you, Derek Jeter, I hung out with him. He drove me home. Matter of fact, David Cohn found out that I was staying in the Holiday Inn over the George Washington Bridge, and he said, no Yankee stays there. You're gonna stay at my place in the Queens, or what's the place called? What's the nice place called?
Manhattan?
Yeah, from Manhattan. So I'm gonna stay at Cohen's place, so Christian Keys's place. So who takes me home is Derek Jeter. So I hung out with him, and then
What was he driving? You gotta tell us, what was he driving? Like, what you're going, a Mercedes, what?
we were driving a Honda.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeter? Oh,
Yeah, I was driving a Honda. I took Jeter home.
wow,
Yeah, that's how we do it.
wow.
Anyway, we pull over, we go in these, we go in the restaurant, the diner. There's a big diner in Tribeca, and we're eating there, and like nobody knows him. And you got De Niro over here, you got this guy over there, you got this movie star over there. Derek Jeter at the time, but that team was filled with classy people. They were. That's why they won, because they respected each other, they respected the game, and they respected everybody that came in that clubhouse.
So you know, looking back, Jeff, on your career, you've got a little bit of a Crash Davis vibe to it. I mean, although you had a much better major league career than Crash did, because he was only up for a cup of coffee here and there. But 23 teams in 16 seasons, you know, that's the definition of a journeyman. It's also the definition of somebody who really has to love this game with heart and soul, because, you know, the stresses and everything else that this does over time, and families. Tell us about that love of the game.
I think it's loving the game, but it's loving the people you're around. It really is. It's one of these things where every town I went into, I was welcomed. It was easy to play in. Do I love the game? Absolutely love the game. But yet, it was never a burden. Yeah, I don't remember going to a town and going, man, I can't wait to get out of this town. I can't wait till the season's over. I can never remember saying I can't wait till the season's over, because I enjoyed it. Because, you know, because Denise was supportive. It wasn't like, you gotta come home, we have 3 kids, it was always like, hey, I'm here to support you. It was easy, everything was easy, and it was, we had the stresses, yes, but when you have a wife like Denise, it's like, do your thing, man, just do your thing. When it's over, just do your thing. And so it was nice to lead and nice to go to towns, because I never felt, it was never a burden. It was never a burden playing, and that's why I think I love it so much.
So how'd you 2 guys meet?
Well, she's in high school. She came to watch me play basketball in high school. That's not true. No, she was a teacher. She's a teacher as a profession, and in Pennsylvania, I had enough credits to substitute, and she was a teacher at this elementary school, and we went there. Kept on calling.
Is that true? Not true. Uh-oh. We got a little conflict. You've also, you went on, you've had a distinguished coaching, managing career and as a hitting instructor, minor and major league levels. And last year you were managing the Trenton Thunder in the MLB Draft League and so forth. And you're not going to be in professional baseball this year, right? This is the first time in forever, right?
Yeah, first time in 37 years. First time in 37 years. We'll be doing it, which is like relief. It really is. I don't miss it. We have a big trip planned to Greece and Italy, and it was like something we haven't done in 37 years. We haven't even gone down to Jersey Shore. We haven't gone anywhere, but it's good. You know what? No, it's
Yeah.
good, it's a good thing, it's a good thing.
And catch us up, what are you doing these days and what
Well,
are you?
I'm pivoting, and what happened, I keep on pivoting, and I want to be a pre-game, post-game, guy for Phillies, or some kind of big league team. I think I can add a value to it, and one of the things I want to value, matter of fact, they call it the casino. Also, to give a pre-game analysis of the pitcher-catcher matchup, a pitcher-hitter matchup, and parlay that into, parlay it, I guess, and do something like that. I called some team building companies to be part of the team building, things like that. I'm into going to do some, trying to work with some people to do some motivational speaking, and I'll tell you a real good story. I actually, 2 years ago, one of the jobs that I had was coordinating and where you coach coaches. I sent a resume to the Philadelphia Eagles to be their coach. I wanted to coach their coaches because you see as a fan, I'm not an Eagles fan, I'm like a football fan. I don't sit there and watch the Eagles and evaluate the Eagles, but I watched how they were coaching, and I sent a resume to Roseman, and I got her feedback the next day from Jake Rosenberg to find out like what I was talking about. Like, and they wanted an action plan. I was on the, and all of a sudden Sirianni said, you know what, I'm just starting. Things are moving too fast. We'll readjust it. So I sent the resume again. We'll see what happens.
Well, they need some help right now. I'm going to give you a couple quick hitters, and then I'm going to get to the audience questions here. Best hitter you ever played with, or against, or coached?
The best hitter I ever coached, was probably Alex Rios. He was just one of the best hitters because he came from a total revamp. Okay, Freddie Sanchez won the batting title, but Freddie Sanchez was a good hitter, and I was just trying to be a psychologist with Freddie. But Alex Rios had to be revamped at the major league level. He did it, and he did it phenomenally, and ended up getting himself a World Series ring. So that was he was definitely one of the best.
What about playing against or with?
Playing against, I would have to say, best probably Griffey. You know, every time he swung the bat, it was like this ball. It was just a phenomenal.
It's such a beautiful swing.
Everything he did,
yeah.
everything he did was great. Everything he did was great.
Toughest pitcher or pitchers you faced in your career?
Jimmy Key was definitely the hardest pitcher I ever faced. I thought Jimmy Key went to bed each night knowing that I was going to face him and thinking, I got to get Manto out. I got to get Manto out. Because when I faced him, it was like, I can't, please don't let me play. Don't let me play. Don't let me play. And so Jimmy Key, I look outside, he'd throw it inside. If I look outside, he'd throw it outside. I didn't believe it. And if I look inside, he'd throw it inside. Like, no. We're supposed to go outside. So Jimmy Key was definitely the toughest.
And it's interesting because he's not a hard thrower necessarily. He's just a smart guy, right?
Very.
All right, we're going to go through some of Ask Jeff questions here. Tell us about Todd with the squirrels story, including a taped-up locker and cold water. I have no idea.
When I first walked off the field, and I was with the Phillies coaching staff in Lakewood, New Jersey. Okay, now, mind you, I just walked off a major league field, and so where you get spoiled, everything's nice, the towels are thick, the towels are warm, the hot water all the time, the buses are warm, air conditioned in August, and I'm walking, I'm hitting coach with Greg Legg and Rod Nichols, and manager and pitching coach, and they're going to go, we're opening up in Kannapolis. Okay, 9-hour bus ride from Lakewood. You're going to love this guy. Todd Parnell is the best. He's the best GM ever. This guy's going to take care of us. I'm like, all right, my first minor league trip, at least we're going to be taken care of. Okay? We get to Kannapolis, no hot water, no towels, the lockers aren't ready. So then I lose my wig. Okay, who's this Todd guy? Who's Parnell? I want to know who Todd. Where's Todd? Get Todd down here. And Todd Parnell. If anybody knows Todd Parnell, he puts a flame out better than anybody. So he came down here. He had a couple coolers. He had a couple pieces of food. And so Todd didn't get that.
So we did the pitcher you hated to face. How about the pitcher you loved to face?
David Wells.
Really?
Yeah, he actually cursed me.
Yeah?
Yeah, I hit him pretty good. I hit one upper deck twice off of him.
Really?
Going to Detroit, he rolled a curveball in. I went left center field and actually went down the tunnel in left center field. And a teammate of his, who I was friends with, number 34, Mark Smith, he came to the dugout cursing and MFing everybody. Who's this guy? Who's this guy? And Mark Smith's going, you don't throw him curveballs. No, David Wells, I enjoyed it. No.
So could you hear him cursing as you went around the bases? Is he?
No,
Is
yeah,
it-
yeah, he's not shy. He's not
Okay. Here's a good question. Most influential coaches and managers in your
Most influential, Charlie Manuel, absolutely, without question. Charlie Manuel, he's the one guy who I felt believed in me. As a hitter, hitters are mental midgets. We really are. And once you have somebody who believes in you, like Charlie Manuel believes in a lot of players, you play for him. And Charlie was definitely, matter of fact, I went into an interview one time and the general manager asked me, he goes, who are you as a hitting coach? And I said, I'm between a Joe Madden and a Charlie Manuel. They're both just a perfect match.
How much of it is psychological?
All of it.
It is.
All of it. Matter of fact, even when we went down the stretch with Freddie Sanchez winning the batting title, it was not me being a good hitting coach. It was me being a good psychologist. I always say good coaches lie.
What do you miss most about playing?
I missed the clubhouse. I missed the clubhouse. I missed the, matter of fact, in my family, in our house, we'll say, that was baseball funny. That was baseball funny. Somebody will say something, that was baseball funny. I miss those things, those types of things. But I don't miss the travel. I just miss the people.
Closest Rochester Red Wings teammates. Who are you close to?
Who am I close to? I still talk to Mark Smith. I see him on Facebook all the time. His son's doing really well. I see that. I was in communication with Tracy Whitson when he was the coach of Richmond, sending him players.
Favorite 1994 memory?
At the Rock?
Yeah, I assume it's at the Rock.
I'll tell you what. I think, my goodness gracious. I think going into Ottawa, we had a big series against Ottawa. Just everything. It was just it was the collaboration of everything. My daughter was born. I was in transition with my career. There's just nothing specific. There really isn't anything specific.
We got your favorite Silver Stadium memory. If you don't have just one of a memory, maybe you just talk about that ballpark. It had a lot of character.
It was great. Matter of fact, I remember trying to hit that was the trash can or
Oh,
Mount Center Field.
not the Marlboro Man.
The Marlboro Man.
Marlboro Man?
I remember Barbara out there taking pictures all the time. I remember Conehead. I remember Mace coming and asking for autographs all the time.
For himself? There's no eBay back then.
It was everything. There's like nothing specific. Like, it was just such a great time. I think everything matched number one. Everything was tied for first. I really think so.
Do you wish you were a left-handed hitter, though, in Old Silver?
Nice, yeah.
I like that short porch, huh? As a Philly guy, best cheesesteak? Jim's? Is it Tony Lee? Tony Luke's? Pat's? Or Gino's?
Hodges.
Huh?
Hodges.
Steve's. Steve's is the best.
Steve's is the best?
Yeah.
That's if I want to go to Philly?
No, yeah, I'm not gonna say that. Replies honest.
Uh-oh. We're gonna get in trouble. What's that? Steve's. Okay. Thoughts on the latest rule changes to reduce the game's length and pick up the pace?
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I think with the generation of the players or the fans, they want it fast paced. The kids today are not into the dance of the game, the choreography of the game. So I think the quicker you speed it up, the quicker they'll get the attention. I think the fan base is changing. So I think baseball has to get with the fan base, and I think that's okay.
Are there some rules you don't like? I don't like the phantom runner. You know,
Yeah,
second base.
I don't like you can't get a pitcher in the relief.
Okay.
Like, I don't like that one. I like the beauty of it, matching up and things like that.
As a coach, what traits and tools do you emphasize?
Discipline. discipline. I really want discipline. I want not so much regimented, but I want discipline. I think it's extremely important. I think practice is extremely important. I think the discipline of practicing, learning how to practice is vital. It's vital. A lot of kids come in, I saw in the draft league, they come in and just, they go to the batting cage and swing. But there's no discipline behind their work. And as I evolved as a hitting coach, as a manager, without question, discipline just drives me, or lack of, just drives me crazy.
Is it a case of, we became Homer happy and everybody's swinging from their heels, or what?
No, I just think because they don't know, I think that the coaches have changed. I don't think the coaches today understand the discipline. It takes discipline to be a good hitter. You just can't come in the cage, you can't just swing. That doesn't work. And we see it. The batting averages are down, the pitching ERAs are down, unfortunately. The hitting is not as good as it used to be. But the coaches today don't know how to teach it. They don't know how to, and it's discipline. You got to be disciplined. It's not there.
All right, Jeff. Well, this has been fantastic. We really appreciate you driving up here and sharing your stories with us. This is fantastic. Let's give him a big round of applause.